my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. What plumber carried Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was 40 years old? Hold on, wait, folks. What plumber carried Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was 40 years old? Somebody explain that to me. What plumber carried Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was 40 years old? And what plumber was top 3 in the league when Michael Jordan was 40 years old? I don't know. Somebody explain that to me. I just don't know what plumber was in the league and was top 3. I don't know. I mean, I know Dirk was in the league. What about Steve Nash? 2 great players, but I don't know if they were top 3 in the league at the time, folks. I just don't know. But anywho, I don't remember any plumber carrying Michael Jordan at 40 years old, folks. This is unheard of. This is unheard of. And don't tell me nothing about LeBron putting up MVP numbers. Oh boy, the guy is still a minus in the plus minus column. The guy is still a horrible free throw shooter, still under 1 steal a game, and still under 1 block a game for the season. You can't be no MVP candidate for an overall season doing those things, folks. Not to mention, you have a plumber doing your business. Wow, this is crazy. So we get back to the plumber thing in a minute. That's what you guys call white people, right? White basketball players, plumbers. You know, a lot of people think this thing started with JJ Redick. No, this thing started with Nick Wright. Unathletic white guys and plumbers and stuff like that. This started with Nick Wright, folks. And then, JJ Redick, because he's not original, carried on what Nick Wright started. And we all know when this started. It basically started, what was it, 2018? Remember, when LeBron James came back from the 3-1 deficit, nobody knows why he was at a deficit with a super team in Cleveland. 3 number 1 franchise players of another team. 3 number 1 franchise players of another team in their prime. Okay? So anyways, LeBron came back from a 3-1 lead, a 3-1 deficit, and beat that Cleveland team. And LeBron James now was the GOAT at, 3 and 4? LeBron was now the GOAT at 3 and 4. Wow, folks. Who cares about 6 and 0? Who cares about 5 and 2? Who cares about 6 and 3? Who cares about 5 and 4? Who cares about 5 and 1? Who cares about 11 and 1? Those are some of the winning standings of some great players in the NBA Finals. Who cares about that, folks? 3 and 4 is better because they beat a team that wasn't a super team. Curry, who was a number 1 franchise player, who isn't even a top 10 player of all time. Draymond Green, who isn't another team's franchise player. And Klay Thompson, who was not another team's number 1 franchise player. So clearly that wasn't a super team, but they call this the greatest or that the greatest team of all time. Wait. Wait. I thought the 2017 Warriors were the greatest team of all time. No, my friend. They said the 2016 Warriors is the greatest team of all time. But why is that? But because LeBron James came back from a 3-1 deficit with his super team against a team that wasn't a super team that had the best record of all time in the NBA. Oh, is that right? That's why that team is the greatest team of all time. But hold on, wait. I thought you said the 2017 Warriors were the greatest team of all time. Huh? No? So when LeBron loses to the 17 Warriors, that now becomes the greatest team of all time. Why is that? Because LeBron James lost to him. Man, they had Durant, man. They had Curry. Yes, two other franchise players, two players that are other teams' #1 franchise players. What about Clay? Nope. Not another team's #1 franchise player. What about Draymond Green? Not another team's #1 franchise player. So in essence, you had on that 17 Cavs team, that was still officially a super team. Kevin Love, another team's #1 franchise player. You had LeBron James, another team's #1 franchise player, and Curry, another team's #1 franchise player. And on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, well, I don't know if Love was a #1 draft pick. I would have to go back. I don't think he was. But we all know Kyrie and LeBron James, #1 overall draft pick. And if I'm not mistaken, Curry and Durant, #1 overall draft picks. So it was basically #1 overall draft picks, two #1 overall draft picks versus each other, right? On the Cavs and the Warriors. But on the what do we have? We have on the Cavs, we have another team's #1 franchise player, but we didn't have that on the Warriors. We didn't have that because again, Draymond Green and Clay was not another team's #1 overall franchise player. That's what I'm trying to say, folks. There's levels to this. Clay could never carry a team. Okay? When you get picked, or you are, let's just say you are another team's #1 franchise player. That means you're that team's leader. You're the guy. You're the man. You're the guy that they picked to carry that team. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson was never chosen to carry a team. Or they just didn't, folks. That's like saying Dennis Rodman is another team's #1 franchise player. He wasn't. What about Ron Harper? No. What about Steve Kerr? No. What about Scottie Pippen? No. Scottie Pippen was not chosen to carry no damn team. He just wasn't, folks. Even if he went to the Sonics, he wasn't going over there to carry no team, folks. He was going over there just to be a role player. That's what you guys are missing. Scottie Pippen was going to be a role player. That's it, folks. So, I mean, I even get mixed up in what I'm trying to say half the time because the nonsense that let's just say the whirlwind that the media tries to put us through with this ever-changing bullish that they put us through for LeBron James. When he wins, you got this. When he loses, they lay out some other trash. When he wins, they lay out some other trash. They can't stick to one thing, folks. It's always something else, folks. It's always a pity party. When he loses, they make up excuses. When he wins, he's back on top. He's the man. He's #1. He's the GOAT. He's this. He's that. It just never stops, folks. It's you just don't even know what to say about this stuff. But yeah, he built his super teams to go play other teams that didn't have a super team. And we talked about this a long time ago. That, everybody has to have a pity party for this guy when he gets his doors blown out in the finals because he doesn't practice. His teams don't practice. They just said, well, we got a super team. We'll beat you off of athleticism and skill. We don't need to practice. For what? Well, it was a big thing for this guy because, you know, he's not a good defender. Because I've always told you guys, and because this guy is on so much juice, I'm trying to tell you, it doesn't help him on his overall game, right? And when I say overall game, you see him, you know, being a poor defender. And even in Miami, I would call him maybe he wasn't a great defender, shouldn't have made all NBA first team. It was just the fact that you really didn't have nobody in that area to, you know, to go to take that defensive first team. I mean, you could, but I'm talking about as far as small forward. If I go back and look at it, the defenders just weren't that good at the time. So, you know, most of he never had 100 blocks in the season, folks. He never had 100 blocks this is crazy. This is crazy. A guy this big never had, dude, the year he was claiming he was defensive player of the year, he didn't even have 200 steals. Okay, we could say because he's not a perimeter player, but he never had 100 blocks. He never had 100 blocks. That's insane. A guy of his stature, his height, his weight, you never had 100 blocks in a season? This is crazy. But even if he did never have 100 blocks in a season, fine. But the guy was crying about defensive player of the year and didn't even have 100 blocks. That's criminal, folks. That's about as criminal as it gets. You crying about defensive player of the year and you never have 100 blocks? That's crazy. So, yeah, the best he was in Miami, as far as a defender, he was a good help defender. That's it. That's all he was. A good help defender. That's all I saw. And that's the best he's been all of his career. And what I was saying earlier was he can't have an overall game. He doesn't have the stamina to have this overall game because, for one, he's a fake stat guy. He's a fake stat guy, right? Take the 27, 7, and 7. He needs all the energy he can get to get this fake 27, 7, and 7, right? So let's say if he rebound at a high level, which he should be, right? You know, most decent rebounders at his height, Larry Bird, same height. What do we call it? Karl Malone, same height. They was getting you 10 rebounds a game. 10 rebounds a game. The assists are really irrelevant, folks. They really are. You can get assists in the game as far as your play. People doubling down on you and, you know, you go into the hole, kicking it out, you know, if there's a double and stuff like that. But if you're not going to get us like 10 or more assists a game, stop saying you're this Magic Johnson type of dude. You're not. So he needs to use a lot of energy to always get that 27, 7, and 7. Therefore, his defense will always be lackluster because his 27, 7, and 7 is always premeditated. Take for Michael Jordan, right? For instance, his numbers always change. One year he have 35, 5, and 5. You know, next year he had like 37, 6, and 5. Next year, one year he had like 28, 6, and 5. You know, one year he had 32, 8, and 8. One year, you know, it's just like that, man. 36 and 7. I mean, his numbers aren't premeditated like that. LeBron James' numbers is already scripted. So he's concentrated on getting numbers and using energy to get these stats that really don't amount to nothing. When it comes down to, you know, winning, they don't amount to nothing. So again, just to go back to that, I mean, who was the greatest team of all time that he played? Was it the 17 Warriors or the 16 Warriors? Because, you know, this is how they like to have their cake and eat it, right? That's what they do, folks. They want to say he beat the 16 Warriors because they had the best record of all time. Okay. But the 17 Warriors are the best team of all time because they had Kevin Durant. So he played the greatest team of all time in back-to-back NBA Finals. Only LeBron James, right, could play the greatest team of all time, two different teams in back-to-back seasons. Only LeBron James. In a no-touch era. On top of that, right, skinny, frail Curry, right, skinny, frail Kevin Durant, right, Draymond Green, triple, single, and two guys, Curry and Durant, that played no defense. This is the greatest team of all time that he played back-to-back. This is funny, boy. This is funny. And, you know, nobody's ever called this out, right? So you ever heard of this, right? The greatest team of all time was 2016, right? We heard that. So how come they never put the 96 Bulls up against that 16 Warriors? Because we all know that they put the 96 Bulls against the 17 Warriors. The 17 Warriors. The 17 Warriors. See how they do it? See how they do it? That's how they do it, folks. They want to put them up against the 17 Warriors. Not the 16 Warriors. The 7, because LeBron James got beat by the 17 Warriors. Right? This is the reason why they don't want to put them up against the 16 Warriors, because the Bulls will destroy those 16 Warriors. They'll destroy them. So we already know the 16 Warriors that he came back 3-1 deficit against. Guess what? They're not the greatest team of all time. The Bulls would destroy them. The Bulls would shut them down physically and mentally. Would shut them down. They would not be able to get those perimeter threes like that. They wouldn't. And the Bulls three-peat team is the greatest team of all time. It just is, folks. And we can argue, we could probably argue, you know, those Celtics teams in the 60s too. I mean, we can argue a lot of stuff, folks, over those 16 and 17 Warriors. You know, we can argue those dynasty teams in the 80s, the Celtics, you know, that run that they had, you know, what would we say, about 85, 86, 87, those teams? What, I don't know. Pick what Lakers team you want to put out there. The beginning of the 80 Lakers or the middle of the 80s Lakers? I would say the middle, something like that, because Magic was more in his prime. Something like that. You could pick those teams. Hell, I mean, I would say even the three-peat Lakers. What about the early 2000 Spurs? I mean, you got to be kidding me with this Golden State team. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me, folks. And no knock against the Golden State, but let's understand, this wasn't the same West that was, you know, in the early 2010s. You know, Golden State was playing against those guys. They were playing guys like James Harden and Russell Westbrook. That thing was depleted. Remember, Kevin Durant left his home, and that West was basically depleted, man. It wasn't that same Spurs team in the West from before. No, folks, none of that. Let's be real. Let's get real. They wasn't playing nobody in that West like that, folks. It wasn't playing no all-time great teams in the West. You're fooling yourself. But no. They couldn't win a three-peat. They couldn't win a three-peat. Hell, they couldn't even win back-to-back. That 16 Warriors. They had won one. So you can't even win back-to-back, and you're being considered the greatest team of all time? How is that? How are you the greatest team of all time and you never even won back-to-back? I don't get that. You never won back-to-back. So those Celtics 60s teams, clearly, they won more than a three-peat. The Bulls 90s teams won 2 three-peats. Like I said, the Lakers won 1 three-peat. If I ain't mistaken, Bird won back-to-back. And we already know what Magic did. I think they won, 2 back-to-backs in the 80s? So I'm not impressed with that Warriors team, man. Yes, they won back-to-back in 17, in 19, but who did they play? They didn't play nobody, folks. It's ridiculous. And I'm not trying to talk bad about that team. I'm just trying to tell you, man, the level of competition was not there. And, you know, especially when LeBron James went back to the finals in 18 and got smoked. So I just want to know what plumber did Michael Jordan make a trade for when he was 40 years old to carry him? Can anybody tell me? What top 5 player in the league? What top 10 player in the league? Hell, what top 15 player in the league? What? So let me ask you this. So I think the Lakers play. I want to say the Lakers play the Knicks tonight. Let me find out. Oh, let me check this out real quick. Because OKC won. Golly. SGA had 41 points. Two steals, 8 assists. 10 for 10 from the line. Wow. Ja Morant was a minus 21. 8 for 22 from the field. 2 for 9 from the 3. God, this guy is. Ja Morant is cooked, boy. And these boys, they just steady falling down the rankings. And you know, always said, why was Memphis even number 2 in the standings? These dudes is fool's gold, man. Yeah, so the Lakers play the Knicks, and they play them at home. The Lakers are always at home, always. They're either at home, or they're in the state of California, or they might be one state away. We're going to play Phoenix or some nonsense like this. They're always one state away or at home. It's ridiculous, folks. It's ridiculous. So yeah, they'll play the Knicks tonight, and they'll destroy them because Karl Anthony Towns is so whack and weak, and this dude is just like, I would love to see this guy playing in the 90s. Look at the way this guy runs up and down the court. They would destroy this guy. This guy is built like slop, just like a big blob. These guys, man, he will get destroyed out there, man. I'm trying to tell you, this guy ain't no real center. He would get demolished at power forward. I would love to see this guy body up with some dudes at power forward back in the day. All these dudes, let me stop. So we know the Lakers will probably destroy the Knicks. You know, even if the Knicks play hard to try to, you know, hang in there, we already know they're going to lose because of refs and all these shenanigans, right? So who is good in this league? If the Lakers got the team that they got, they don't need AD. LeBron James can't shoot. He's a horrible free throw shooter, a bad mid-range shooter. Can't shoot the 3. He just shoots so many of them. You think he can sometimes. I think they play the Celtics Saturday. So we'll kind of like get a gauge on this, that there's no good teams in this league. There's probably like, we can say the Celtics, maybe the Bucks, and OKC. And where I'm getting this from is the fact that the Lakers are not a good team. Oh, and the Cavs. So basically, the Cavs, Boston, and OKC. These are your good teams. Look at Phoenix. They're hard to play in. And I guess you could say Golden State to an extent. I'm not buying the Rockets. The Rockets are at number 5 now. They were like at 2 or 3, and they done dropped all the way down to number 5. So It's just so telling, man, with this, with the Lakers. They're not a good team. And now a plumber is saving LeBron James. And there's rumblings about Nico Harris. Nico Harris did what he's supposed to do, man. They trying to put all this on Nico Harris. Folks, this ain't no Nico Harris thing. This fruity tooty zesty dude. Oh my God, this guy reminds me of if you ever seen the movie Deep Cover, you remember the he looks just like that dude from Deep Cover. Oh, I forget his name. He was like a middleman drug dealer. I forget his name. He was like a middleman drug dealer, and then he got into it with one of the big bosses, and they lit his ass up with a pool table stick, and they beat the hell out of him. And Nico Harris looked just like this guy, but Nico Harris did what he was supposed to do for the league. This is what the league wanted, folks. Nico Harris ain't nothing but a fall guy. That's all he is. These guys don't care about nothing, man. All these guys are gonna make the same money regardless. Nico Harris is a fall guy. And we got to get Anthony Davis. He's where he's supposed to be. He's out of LA. He's playing hurt, not coming back. All this stuff. They're playing their role. We talked about this video the other day. We saw it plain and clear. Nobody touched Kyrie. Nobody touched Kyrie. Everybody can play this like they don't see it. Nobody touched him. Nobody touched him. I don't care what anybody says, and now people try to come in my comments and they talking about non-contact injury. No, that ain't what they said. Go watch the replay, and the play-by-play guy even rolls back the replay, and he says over and over again that it was a contact, the defender with Kyrie's knee. That was it. That's what was said, and that's why the injury was so bad. And we watched the replay. The defender got the hell out of the way. You can see him. He jumped back. Nobody touched Kyrie. He's not in agony pain or nothing. You just torn an ACL and your concern is shooting a free throw for what? Dude, come get the stretcher. Come get the wheelchair. Come get something. I just tore something. Why am I walking off the court? It's ridiculous. And I'm not yelling or nothing. Man, get out of here. So all these guys are playing their role. I mean, it's just, you can see it plain as clear as day. Luka played his role to get over here, act like he was hurt. As soon as he came over here, he popped out and was playing. Then people saying, oh, well, yeah, I think he's still kind of hurt, man. He just, he's not the same Luka. 2 games later, it's Luka magic now, folks. It was all a game, folks. Get used to the NBA script. The NBA script has been in play for all to see for a long time. Starting when LeBron James went to Miami, it was no pushback from the owner. I mean, that's number one. Where's the owners pushing back on this? Where's the owners? They don't want to win? What about the players? They don't want to win? What about the head coaches? They don't want to win? All right, so I guess nobody wants to win. Only LeBron James wants to win, right? Only LeBron James. Supposed to be the best player or the second best player at the time in the league, and only LeBron James is supposed to win with his super team, right? No pushback. I mean, how ridiculous does this sound, folks? So, like I said, the NBA script has been in full effect for a long time. This ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing new. It was in full. No. Let me explain to you. What player can have this guy hadn't even did nothing. Say if he had won a championship, 2 championships, all this stuff, folks. All this stuff. And then he went to Miami. He had like a little thing at the Boys and Girls Club. And then he went over there and said, not 1, not 2, not. So basically, he had two setups where he taunted the league. Imagine any other player back in the 90s, the 80s. They had a program, folks, that's saying they're going to quit on their team, the biggest player in the league, and take their talents to another team. And we talked about this yesterday. What talents? What talents? The guy couldn't shoot the mid-range. The guy couldn't shoot the 3. Couldn't give you no paint work in the paint. Can't shoot free throws. What is it? What talents? Dunks and layups? That's talents? Shaq can do that. And then he did it twice. No, it wasn't on the level. We remember it wasn't on the level of Miami when he went back to Cleveland, but but he did have a big name. I think it was in the Cleveland Arena, right? Where thousands of people packed in, and he was having another charity type of event. Why is this dude having another charity event? Like, I mean, this dude is such scum. And he's coming back for them, coming back for us. So you're coming back for them. Why are you bringing Kevin Love? So again, no pushback from the owners, no pushback from the players, no pushback from the coaches. And don't tell me about, oh, he had the right, man, he was a free agent. No, folks, you can still have pushback. You can still say what he's doing in his prime by playing with other teams' number one franchise players, not just Hall of Famers, other teams' number one franchise players, teams that were players that were other teams' number one option. That's what Kevin Love was. That's what Kyrie Irving was. That's what Wade was. That's what Bosh was. They were the leaders of those teams. So don't come at me about oh man, you just making up stuff. I'm not making up nothing. It's been all in your face for a long time with this guy. They can't just let this guy win and lose basketball games, right? Why not? Because if he just wins and loses basketball games, it is what it is. He's not a winner. He's not a all-time great that's in the top 10. He's a failure. He's not a winner. He's not a leader. He don't have an overall skill set. And now at 40 years old, he has the great white hope, Luka Doncic, a top 3 player. Whether you say he's not being carried by Luka or not, it's irrelevant, folks. Luka Doncic is a top 3 player. So let's take the race out of it. At 40 years old, who was the number 3 player? Number 2 or number 3 in the league? Or 4 that Michael Jordan could play with? I don't know, folks. Shaq? I don't know, folks. Kobe Bryant? I heard Michael Jordan shot that down. Because I heard they were proposing that, but I don't know, folks. Maybe it was Allen Iverson. Maybe it was Tim Duncan. But at any rate, Michael Jordan ain't going to... This destroys your legacy. I'm trying to tell you, Michael Jordan wasn't looking to play with a top 5 guy in the league, top 3 guy in the league, even when he was 40 years old, man. He wanted his legacy to be his legacy. There's no flaws in his legacy because we all know Michael Jordan wasn't coming back to the Wizards to win. Michael Jordan coming back to the Wizards is like the equivalent of Michael Jordan in 84, 85 with the Bulls, or 85, 86. Pick which one. That's how bad the team was. So it would be like you expected Michael Jordan to win a championship at 84, 85, 85, 86. That's what it would be like. And at no point did Michael Jordan say, oh, we got to finagle, one of these top 5 superstars in the league over here, man, so I can get me a cheap ring. No, folks, he wasn't into that. He was into letting the league be the league and letting these other great players rise to the top. Because he already passed the torch to Kobe. He was just, to me, he was just in the league because the league was going down in ratings. It was not the same. So to me, I don't think like nobody else, man. I think he was just trying to help out the league. We all know he was, there for the Wizards, and he didn't like the way they played, and it was frustrating because the younger kids, they didn't have the same mentality that the dudes had back in the 90s or the 80s or, in those prior decades. So it burnt him up to see his team lose, and not based on their skill, based on, the fundamentals and hustling and all this stuff. It's just like that burned him up. So he jumped out there and said, look, we could do better than this ish. I'm going to jump back on the court. And everybody's saying, oh, man, he was promised half owner of the team, and then the guy lied. I don't believe none of that, folks. It's another story to sell. Michael Jordan isn't an idiot. if he was to jump, if he said, I'm jumping on a court because I want half ownership of the team, you're trying to tell me that's a verbal agreement? That's nothing in writing? So Michael Jordan is an idiot. That's what it would be to me. You have to be the biggest idiot in the world to not sign off on something like that. Or if you're going to do a verbal, record it. So you're trying to tell me Michael Jordan is one of the, for real, to have half ownership of an NBA team and not even have none of that in writing? You got to be the biggest idiot. But no, Michael Jordan came back because to help the league out. Michael Jordan coming back, the ratings went up. They were able to sell merch, get a, big hurrah, because a lot of stuff was one-sided. When you looked at the league and you looked at, the overall league, everything was in the West. All the great players basically was in the West for the most part. It was really unbalanced. And it hadn't been like that for a long time, folks. It was in the 90s, it was pretty balanced as far as superstars and things like that. And that's why I always say when LeBron went to when he went to the West, when he went to the Lakers, that thing really became unbalanced. All your stars are in the West now. That's why they lost a lot of ratings. Because nobody on the East Coast is staying up to watch these games like that. So let me get off of here. I don't believe, like I said, I don't believe Michael Jordan came back to own no team. That's just the most dumbest thing in the world. To me, he came out to come back to help the league out. He loved the NBA, and they loved him too. Michael Jordan was the league for a long time, folks, and they did a lot for him. So he did what he did in that little time he was there on his little and that's it. He wasn't coming back to win. He did all he could for the league. It's LeBron James who's overstayed his time in the league and destroyed the league.